Welcome to Oldsmobile 455. We're back at it on the little ST165 Harley, and previous to this we stripped it with just one of them fibrous strippers and left really a rough surface. So I'm taking it down to 80. As soon as we're done with 80, we're going to metal etch prime it. These were rusted, rough as a cob, and tried to sand out the pits, and we're going to paint them black. Would be better than, I mean, you'd have to take the wheels off, take them all apart, take the parts individually, get them chromed, put it all back together. We're not into that. That's a big job. The next guy, if he wants to make it real pretty, he can do that. I think we're gonna have to use high build primer just to fill the pits and stuff, and then we want it to look smooth, and it'll be like a satin black. Such a little thing, it takes a lot of work. Here's the situation we have, and this is the tab that the gas tank drops down on, and then the gas tank brackets, and a bolt goes all the way through. But you'll see these wings on the fork. This is the fork stops, and they come and they bash into it, and then they just buckled it in. So then when it came time to taking the gas tank off, it didn't want to come. We had to bend it. We're going to have to make a tube in between there, and then between the gas tank and these brackets and the tube that, you know, spreads the load, then these things will hit and they'll probably keep their shape better. The kickstand is all pitted. I actually started with a die grinder. It was roughed and a finer one, and a sandpaper roll. And got rid of the pits. The frame is dry with the metal etch primer. I'm just scuffing it with some 80, and then he's going to paint it. Metal etch primer makes them look better than rust, and now we'll get them up on the bench with better light, see how pitted they are, and if they need high build primer, we'll wait until we got a bunch of stuff that needs high build primer and do it all at one time.
Pretty tough to see, but we got that 415 tint coating in there. We're going to run a little bit of weld across this license plate bracket. It's almost cracked through.
The lighting is crummy.
They're pitted, but with a sand and then some high build, it might be good enough.
Gas tank was chromed at one time. The only way to get that off is to use cyanide, you know, like at a chrome shop, and de-chrome it. And this dent should have been taken care of with a stud dent, but now we put a liner in it, so you'd end up compromising the liner on the inside. So we're gonna have to do this in just Bondo and scratching it up with 80 grit. We can do some dent repair so it looks like a smooth gas tank after we're finished. And you always wonder if you got the right amount of hardener, and it's just a 50-50 change between the Bondo that's white and the hardener that's red. You should come up with a pink, right? And it looks like it. It's been a while since we did this. I think I got a lot. So the problem being, and when you got a dent that's on a radius, most likely when it got hit, it raised it up in that area. So in order to trick your eye, I'm gonna have to go back a ways. I think there's a dent back here. gonna try making sure that this is flat. A lot of times the bottom is wavy, and when you're blocking it out, you're gonna see highs and lows. So this bottom edge, the other side starting to get stiff. Oh no! Shoot. Just trying to get the fins a little bit cleaner. Give the paint something to, you know, if there's rust in there, make it look a little lumpy. You just want flat black. And then the sides, we're not going to paint them. I just took some Scotch-Brite and brushed them up, you know. And then the person that buys it could get his little buffing rouge out there. I've seen these things where guys have everything chromed or polished out. So you're going to see how rough the castings were back in them days. I mean, there's unfinished metal here. If you had a Honda 69 Sandcast 750 Honda, they're worth a fortune. Anything that was like the beginning roots and it's rough, people want that stuff just to know the originality of where bikes have started and where they're going to. Everybody can buy a Hayabusa and be amazed at the power. Most people can't even drive them. These are fun little things. Anybody could get on them and learn how to ride and go back in time. Actually, when you get on a thing that's like from 1957, you'll laugh, you know, because it's so simplistic. And the shifting and the brake are on opposite sides, so you got to remember what you're driving. What is it, like 4 o'clock and it's already getting dark? And it's November 17th. So painting in the dark and painting in the freezing cold is not the ideal conditions, but with cars inside and stuff like that, it is what it is. So we're doing multiple things, and this got away. Now it's finally hard. But instead of sanding and sanding to get this level, I'm knocking this down to save on sandpaper. And if it would have been soft, it would have just came off like, you know, really easy. So now I'm, like I said, trying to trick the eye. I'm gonna have to put like a dome in here and a dome in here and feather them until I get to this edge. A lot of tedious work. So yesterday, I'm hanging on to this gas tank, and I'd been sanding for an hour, and he goes, "Isn't your arm getting tired from sanding?" I go, "Yeah, this one, from hanging on to the gas tank, because you don't want it slipping away and falling down, putting a dent in it, making more work for you." And today he made me a bracket. It goes into the vise. I can swivel it all around. Use 2 hands the way you're supposed to use this thing. And it makes my life a lot easier. Might be hard to, get out of it. So if you think about dents, the fastest, you got this curve, but it's only like this also. You got this flat, but it's not really flat, this curve to it. You got this curve, so you gotta work on it. So you start from the edge, when you blend it in, then you work your way into it. So you see as I was laying it down, get the layers of the spatula spraying an area, I knock those down first. Once you get them all level, then I'll start doing long sweeping strokes to blend it from this edge all the way up. This is the high point that we're trying to take away from. Trick your eye to see it so much.
we're doing sneaking up, that's the damaged part. You said you start to break through, check his head bond as thin as possible. We're going to be going over this with high build primer also. So we're getting through the level, then you lay down, this is how after, bond that's stronger, then we'll go over with the high build primer, should be able to eliminate any kind of imperfections, and the paint job turns out real slick. Then the trick is to have somebody else take a look at it. If you something long enough, you think it's all right. Just get somebody else.
So here we got a situation where the exhaust is probably an expensive item, and what we got is pretty rough. This is supposed to be chrome, this is supposed to be black. The sheet metal is rusted out, and he's gonna try welding these holes up, and I mean, that's the texture you're gonna get. Well, painting out in the freezing cold with a little spray bomb, there's still Bondo dust that didn't get wiped off, but it's just primer. I'm gonna sand that out, and then we'll do the the high build primer, and you can't put that right on bare steel, so that's why we had to put this kind of primer on there. I think the frame turned out pretty nice. So, we were wondering if we should have it in gloss or if we should have it in satin. I think gloss looks all right. I got the primer on it, and I can see the dents, and I'm going to be sanding it some more so that I have a good, they call it a tooth for the Bondo to grab into. But the reason you got it in primer is just to keep it from rusting. There isn't that much moisture in the winter time here. It's kind of dry air.
I opened up all that thin metal to a hole, and then I was able to get all the crap from inside this muffler out of it. There it is, welding to paper thin metal. Not the prettiest, but
Hopefully this will be taken care of. Back where it was crinkled in, I can see I'm a little low right now. It's always putzing around. This guy has a collection of hammers for everything, and I just thought this was the cutest little thing. I thought maybe it was for jewelry or something, but this was all dingered in, and I'm working my way out. This way you don't have too much. Nothing worse than going too far, than instead of having a dent in, you got it going outward the other way. It was all crinkled in. Where this was on, it was crinkled in. So we had to pound it out. And you'll see a slight low spot, but I'm thinking, because we're short on time, we could just fill this with that heavy primer, and we could blend this in.